Hey folks, Colin here. Thanks for joining us. We did a post the other day and we talked about some of our dog training collars, and there was a few people that said they would never put a e-collar on a dog no matter what. Now, that's all very well and good if you're getting the results that you need, and also if your dog has run 100% recall. But I'll say again, no one has ever called me and said, I want to buy an electronic dog training collar because I think it looks good on my dog. No one ever called me to say that I needed that I should buy, I need a bark collar on my dog because I think he's going to look better in a bark collar. They've always called us because the dog's jumping the fence and they're in dire straits. They've tried everything, they're getting fined by the rangers, and their neighbours complaining about barking, etc. But let's look at remote dog training collars because it gives you a good example of exactly how they work and what they do. And then there are other products that we have as well. So let's go through a couple of the questions. Now, do you think that e-collar users do not use positive reward techniques? Do you think if you used a remote trainer on your dog and you got better obedience, that the longer you used it and the more consistent you used it, you wouldn't have to use it as much further on down the track? If your dog does the right thing, you can then reward the dog for the good behavior, and the dog then enjoys the situation more. There are many cases where people have called us up and it's now a pleasure to take their dog down the park. They get more positive reward from using a remote trainer than they did before, because before their dog was running away. I'll do that so you can see some of the products we've got. Their dog was running away in the park, and they had no way of getting the dog to come back. So now the dog comes back to them when they're called. They understand what the beepers and the vibrations mean, and they respond a lot better. Therefore, the dog is getting the reward, and everyone's a lot happier. Now, positive reward can be a treat. It could be a toy. A lot of trainers train their dogs with toys as a reward. You'll see them down at the airport quite often, the sniffer dogs, and they won't get any food rewards. They'll actually get to play with their favorite toy, which is something they've grown up with. And if you watched our interview with Gaz Jackson a little while ago, he actually talked about some of the techniques of getting dogs associated with favorite toys, and then that can be their reward. Doesn't have to be food all the time. The next one. Most of our clients, when they have talked to us, they have told us that they've tried everything. They've been to dog trainers. The dog trainers have not been able to stop their dogs from escaping. They've actually had their dogs down the pound or been injured or had a very bad result. I'm not sure if that's spelt right. No, this one's not spelt very well. But anyway, they've already tried positive only and they got nowhere to go. So in order to ensure their dog's safety, then that's what they have to do, is to talk to us about a good dog training collar. Now, we also have a few other brands here, and I'll get these plugged back in on charge, but the three ones we've got our Big Leash, that's a good one, and our Sport Dog trainers here that I'm putting up, and the Mini Educator e-collar by e-collar in the US. Very good remote and lots of good features. Now, faced with a situation just today where Pam's dog chases kangaroos and has zero recall, absolutely no recall whatsoever. So she's in a situation where the dog is locked up inside and is not allowed out. And if it does get out on their property, let alone going bushwalking, if the dog is allowed out, then that has to be on the lead all the time, because if her dog sees a kangaroo, off he goes. He's going to chase the kangaroo down, and we all know what happens, what a kangaroo can do to a dog. They can take them down to water. Good night, Irene. It's all over, Red Rover. Or they can actually cause some very nasty injuries. And you know what? The very day they get back from the vet after being stitched up from a kangaroo, they are off chasing the kangaroo again. So how are you going to stop your dog chasing a kangaroo when their drive is up here and your positive reward or your recall response to the dog is down here? The dog does not consider that it's worthwhile coming back because the reward is not that great. So you need to get something that's going to be a little bit above their comfort zone to even stop them. And if you use some low-level dog training stim techniques, then you're going to have great success in recognition and teaching your dog. There we go. Excuse my spelling. I'm very sorry about the spelling. Now, the next thing I want to show you is some of the products. All of these products, by the way, they are passed by the the ACMA, the Australian Communication and Media Authority. They all have a little tick on the box which shows you that it's passed all the tests. Let's go to this one. It's passed all the tests, and people are able to use them in Australia. Now, if you're selling remotes and you're a dog trainer, be very careful, because the ACMA is onto it, and they are going to be knocking on doors saying, where are your test reports? And they're just not reports from a certificate in China. They are actually test reports from an Australian registered company for testing radio frequencies in Australia. And everyone's getting stung, from big business who are bringing in radio signals from around the place to people bringing in little remote car door trainers as well. Okay, so look, in summary, we're going to see how they work in a minute. But don't poo-hoo someone who uses a remote unless you've walked a mile in their shoes, folks, because you don't know the situation that they've faced. They may have already witnessed their dog being hit by a car, or running across a busy road, or getting into a fight with a strange dog. So the other thing to consider is, we had a guy in the other day, and he bought a remote for his dog to keep it under control. The very next day, he went down the park, and someone else whose dog was not on the lead and not under full and total control down the park, which is your responsibility, came up and attacked his dog. His dog was under control, but the other dog wasn't. So what if that guy who had the other dog kept his dog under control? That sort of thing wouldn't happen. Okay, so it's a little bit of responsible dog ownership. So don't poo-hoo people who are using remote training collars until you know exactly what they've been through before they've actually bought the remote trainer, and ask them about the results they've gotten as well. What was life like before, and what's life like now? And if you need any information, you can give us a call. You can call us on 1300-THE-DOG, 1300-843-364. We're happy to chat about any situation and any problem with your dog you need curing.